Hello, students. In this video lesson, we're going to solve a couple of EmSAT practice questions related to algebraic expressions. Let's get started. Question number 1. Simplify the following expression. 7 squared negative 4 over 7 minus 4 plus 5. So first of all, we're going to simplify the numerator, which is 7 squared negative 4. And 7 squared is going to be 49 minus 4 on the top over 7 minus 4 in the denominator plus 5. In the next step, we have to subtract the numbers on the top and bottom. 49 minus 4 is going to be 45 over 7 minus 4. That is 3 plus 5. Now, 45 divided by 3. Recall the BODMAS rule. Like first you have to divide and then add. So it's going to be 15. 45 divided by 3. 3 15s or 45 plus 5. Now you would add. So 15 plus 5 is going to be 20. So the right answer is 20. Pause the video and try to figure out a similar question. For example, 8 squared negative 5 over 8 minus 5. 8 squared negative 5 over 8 minus 5 plus 7. Let's try to figure out the next question. Question number 2. 7 times the difference of 3x and y is. So this is kind of a simple word problem related to algebraic expression, how to write an algebraic expression given a statement like 7 times the difference of 3x and y, 1/2 times something times like that. So 7 times the difference of 3x and y is going to be 7. So you need to understand different terminologies that we usually use, like times, sum, difference, of, like that. So 7 times mean times usually we use for multiplication, so we can write parentheses. 7 times the difference of 3x and y. The difference of 3x and y. 3x minus y. So for difference means you have to subtract 3x minus y. So 7 times 3x minus y, which is the second option. Now pause the video and try to figure out a similar question. You can note it down. For example, 1/2 times the sum of 4y and x. I'm repeating the question. 1/2 times the sum of 4y and x. Let's try to figure out number 3. Which of the following is equivalent to the expression below after it is simplified? 4a to the negative 1b cubed over a to the 4b to the negative 2 times 3a over b. So first of all, you need to understand a couple of exponential rules. The first one is, for example, a to the raised for m over a to the raised for n, which is equal to a to the raised for m minus n. So whenever we have same bases and different exponents, and you have the quotient of those two numbers, like the numbers are being divided, So you would have to subtract the coefficients. You would have to subtract the exponents. A to the raised per m over a to the raised per n, which is a to the raised per m minus n. Same basis, different exponents, you would have to subtract exponents. While we have a to the raised per m times a to the raised per n, you have a product like that with same basis, then you would add the exponents. Hope it makes sense. Now, another thing, while multiplying the fractions, like a over b times c over d, we can multiply top with top and bottom with bottom. And if you want to simplify, you can simplify the numbers or expression in a cross manner, like a with d, or c with b, or a over b, or c over d. Now, let's multiply the top with top and bottom with bottom. We can do it in multiple ways. Let's try to figure out in this way. 4a to the raised per negative 1b cubed times 3a. So you'd have to multiply number with number. So 4 times 3, you would get 12. A to the raised per negative 1, and there's a to the raised per 1. So when you would multiply a to the raised per negative 1 with a to the raised per 1, so we have learned that you have to add the exponents. So negative 1 plus 1. B cubed. Now, there's no b on the second fraction, so you will write as it is, no change for that, over a to the 4, there's no a, so you write a to the 4 as it is. B to the raised per negative 2, and there's b to the raised per 1, so you write b to the raised per negative 2 plus 1. Next, simplify 12, a to the raised per 0, b cubed, over a to the raised per 4, b to the raised per negative 2 plus 1 negative 1. Next, something to the raised per 0 is 1. You have to keep in mind, something to the raised per 0 is 1. So a to the raised per 0 is just 1. Now we have 12. On the top, we have b cubed. And in the denominator, we have b to the raised per negative 1. And by the first rule, we can subtract the exponents. So it's going to be b to the raised per 3 minus, you have to subtract negative 1 like that, over a to the raised per 4, no change for that. Finally, you would get 12, b to the raised per 3, negative times negative, you would get positive 1. So 3 plus 1, you would get 4, over a to the raised per 4. 12, b to the 4 over a to the 4, which is the third option. Hope it makes sense. Now pause the video and try to figure out a similar question. For example, three x to the raised per negative 2, y to the raised per 4 over x to the raised per 1, y squared, times 4x squared over y. Pause the video and try to figure this out. Number 4, simplify the expression. So first of all, we need to understand how to add or subtract the fractions. So we can simplify 3 over w plus 7 and 3 over w plus 5. For 3 over w plus 7, we have to make the common denominators. So the denominator is w, 7, so you can write 7 as 7 over 1. So how can we make the common denominator? We need w as a common denominator. So there's 7 over 1, so we can multiply and divide with w to make a common denominator. So it's going to be w. On the top, you can write 3 plus 7 times w, you would get 7w. So this is for the top numerator. For the denominator, let's say we write 3 over w plus 5. We can simplify in the same way by multiplying, dividing with w to make the common denominator. W times, in the denominator you have w, on the top you will write 3 plus 5 times w, 5w. Now look at that. We have 3 plus 7w over w for the top one, over 3 plus 5w over w. That is for denominator. And we have learned the rule that if we have a over b divided by c over d like that, you can write a over b times d over c. You can flip the fraction when you would convert division into multiplication. So in the same way, we can write 3 plus 7w over w times w over 3 plus 5w. So w will be canceled out. 3 plus 7w over 3 plus 5w is the final answer, which is the last option. Hope it makes sense. Now pause the video and try to simplify a similar question. For example, 2 over x plus 3 over 2 over x plus 5. Simplify the expression. So in the first step, we can distribute everything under the radical, under the square root. So we can write square root 300, square root x to the raised power 5, and square root y to the raised power 9. So we have to keep in mind, just like the reverse process of addition is subtraction, the reverse or reciprocal process of subtraction is addition, multiplication to division, division to multiplication, like that. So to cancel out a square root, the reverse operation for square root is square. So if we would make a perfect square under the square root, we would be able to simplify. So for 300, we can write 100 times 3. And 100 is a perfect square. For x to the raised power 5, you can write x to the 4 times x. And x to the 4 is a perfect square. For y to the raised power 9, pause the video and try to think about it. How would you write y to the raised power 9? For example, if you want to write y to the raised power 9 as y cubed times y cubed times y cubed, is it possible? But 3 is not a perfect square. Okay, so we can write y to the raised power 4 whole square, which is y to the raised power 8 times y. So that is the best way, because y to the 4 whole square is the perfect square. Means you can write y to the raised power 8 or y to the 4 whole square times y, square root. Now look at that. Square root 100 is basically 10. So you can write 10 square 3. For x to the 4, if you would take a square of x to the 4, you would get x square times square root x. Y to the 4 square, if you would distribute those two square roots, you would get y to the 4 and times square root y. Now just we have to rearrange the expressions. So we can write square root 3, square root x, square root y, and the rest of the values are 10. You can write 10x squared y to the 4. So 10x squared y to the 4. And we can write 10x squared y to the 4. And all of these expressions are the same radical. Square root 3xy. 10x squared y to the 4, square root 3xy, which is the first option. Hope it makes sense. Now pause the video and try to figure out a similar question. For example, 128 x to the raised power 8 y to the raised power 5 z to the raised power 3 square root.